What's up, everybody? Doug or Greg? Greg, how you doing, man? It's good to see you.
Living the dream a day at a time, Zach. It's always nice to get connected with you again, and I'm just honored to be a part of this amazing community that you guys have built. And being able to watch some of these speakers earlier was just really eye-opening. And the fact that you guys put together this content, and it's great. Really stoked to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, we love having you. Anyone tuning in, drop in the comments. Tell us what you want to do in 2021. One big thing that you plan on doing. I think it'd be cool to hear that from anyone. Greg, I've loved working with you from the start. You showed me a lot of technologies I hadn't even heard about before, and the way that you were kind of piecing things together. And you've also, whether you know it or not, have pretty directly pushed some of the reports and some of the ways that we do things internally here at Sisu as far as the way our product works. So we wanted to talk lead source ROI and lead source conversion right today. And maybe before we jump into that, you could just give us a little background on you, where you're coming from, and some of the things that you're doing today.
Yeah, sure. So I started real estate in 2006 as just a single agent. 2011, I launched Dallaire Realty as an independent brokerage. Started with just myself, and then slowly kind of pieced the rest of the pieces together. In 2020, we have 10 agents, including myself. We have one transaction manager. We have one listings manager, and then we have one inside salesperson as well. Last year, we did 415 units. And this year we are at 414 closed and pending. So we've got a few more months to finish strong. And I remember I was speaking like 5 years ago, and I was doing a session, and we had talked about like conversion numbers. And this guy in the back raised his hand and challenged that conversion number. And that man was somebody who's a good friend of mine now, Jeff Cohn.
Uh-huh.
And like the inside of that question, I was like, oh, he's kind of like picking on me. And my answer to the question is, hey, let's crack open a spreadsheet. Let's take a look. And from that point forward, we became, the best of friends. And obviously he's a big supporter of Sisu and, tracking, knowing your numbers, KPIs and things. I think the real estate industry is, full of a lot of people with really big egos, and a lot of people that like to brag about how great they are. And I try to not do that. And I just think a lot of times when agents talk numbers, I think that if they say a number, it's typically not necessarily the true number. So I really got specific on the tracking from an early stage. And for us, it's been a huge part of our success. Like, we can really model where our future business is going to come from. We can double down, we can triple down, we can do experiments on lead sources. But I'm so happy that Sisu's here, because we can now really try to mastermind and open up the hoods of, we call it our Ferrari here at Dallaire Realty. And we like to always make small tweaks to the Ferrari. We don't want to completely drive the Ferrari off the road, but we want to make small tweaks. And the transparency that you guys bring to the industry by actually being able to truly quantify your numbers and not fudge those numbers. Mm-hmm. Because if you're fudging those numbers, you're only lying to yourself. And, there's a lot of people that are all about getting the most sales. But at the end of the day, in my mind, it's all about, profitability, providing better lives for the teammates. All that production wouldn't be possible with all of our support staff and just the leaders, the people that are standing up to help on our team all the time. Our culture is very, probably one of the best cultures you could have, just from a competition, gamification, camaraderie. Like it's like an explosion when somebody gets an accepted offer on our team.
Oh, really? and what is that? Is it just, is there actually a system for congratulating and like recognizing that, or is that just people hear about it and they freak out?
Yeah, so we actually use Slack. I know you're a big Slack user yourself.
Oh, yeah. Love Slack.
And we've been on Slack really since it came out. And it was one of the things. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen on that real quick.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, you share it and I'll throw it up there.
So some of these, they're they're totally fine as far as being politically correct. But you can see here like 817.
I'm not seeing your screen yet.
Okay.
If you click on the StreamYard, there's the share screen. Yep. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and add this. You guys got memes all over the place.
Dude, we have memes all day long. But yeah, so like this was yesterday, 8:17 in the morning. I mean, there's a lot of times where, and there's, explosions here going on, and it's fun to celebrate together and have that camaraderie, and it's really like it ties in with the gamification of Sisu, et cetera, to really get like almost healthy competition. But nobody's bigger than the team here. We're like the Notre Dame football team where no one's got their name on the jersey, on the back of the jersey, or the Patriots who come out together as a team. That's something that's kind of big for us. But it's a lot of fun, and it needs to be fun because this is a very serious business, and we help people with very serious decisions. But you got to work hard, play hard, and you can see that we definitely do that.
Yep, I'm always throwing in the /Giphy on Slack so I can bring one of those in. And I see a lot of top teams like Spring. Spring, right? Of course, does this as well. They have like a handful of different channels, and it's always surprised me how actually engaged those channels are, right? For an agent, because it's on your phone. It's like Kenny Fast was talking with them the other day. They basically have like it's like your internal social media network, right? And it's live, and you can create a lot of engagement there.
Yeah, and for us, when we started with Slack, it was probably, 8-9 years ago. We were really early adopters of it. And for us, it was just purely to get inter-office email communication out of your email. We want to make sure that our emails are as humanly clean as possible so that we can be attentive to the high dollar productive emails that come in and try to avoid that. So any of the inter-office communication really transitioned over to that, which it was probably one of the biggest things from a camaraderie standpoint. We had that camaraderie even before Sisu, but Sisu just like amplified that camaraderie, which is pretty cool.
And by the way, anyone listening to this, Slack's free. I mean, you can pretty much do anything you need to do with it for free. There's a couple features if you want more storage and things like that you pay for, but cheap, easy to use, free, and great communication.
Yeah, we have 13 users. It's been free the whole time.
Yeah.
I always get the upgrade notification, but I just still haven't found a reason to upgrade. I love Slack. I wouldn't have given them money, but like you said, it's a tool and there's Facebook Workplace and et cetera and those types of things. But
the other thing is, especially with a lot of people moving more virtual, having that place where you can go and have kind of like little campfire, a little place to socialize, a little corner of the web to do that. It's a big deal. So another culture thing that you guys did that was really fun. You tell us a little bit about the belts and the belt challenges. Do you have one?
I actually do have one.
I love this.
So obviously the key performance indicators are appointments. This is the Connect Commander. So this is who has the most actual talk to prospects for the month. And then we actually have 3 belts. We have the pending powerhouse. So for the monthly person who has the most pendings, that wins that award. We give them raffle tickets to win a opportunity to go to either the Zillow conference, Boomtown Unite, or whatever we decide. It's a raffle ticket thing, so that sometimes you have contest and somebody runs away with the contest, and it's kind of like this demotivating. It takes away all the power of the contest.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was fortunate enough to come up with that idea so that you can continue, like, even if they win that this month, with the raffle tickets, everyone still has an equal shot to have a chance to win those prizes, which is pretty cool.
So you do that on contacts, on pendings, and what was the other thing?
Appointment Pounder.
Okay.
So Connect Commander, pending powerhouse. That's for my graphic designer Blaine, who is just unbelievable. Who's likes to have fun too. Like I said, we want to have work hard, play hard kind of scenarios. But yeah, it's been a really good thing. Obviously, COVID's kind of put it on the back burner, so we've got a bunch of flights in reserve and we're trying to find something we can do when things get a little bit safer out there. So
Yeah.
but we're excited about that.
Yeah, I love it. So let's maybe shift gears a little bit here and going into lead source conversion. What are the things you do to track and improve lead source conversion?
So before Sisu, it was all done by spreadsheet. It was done kind of haphazardly. It wasn't done as consistently as it should have been. We had formulas built and plug numbers in and total number of leads in versus pendings, closings, etc. With Sisu, it makes it way easier, and I'll kind of give you a sneak peek here of Can you see everything okay in there?
Yep, we're seeing it.
So, when we transitioned over to Sisu, one of the big things for us was the ability to go in and look at our individual lead sources, being able to put in our expenses into these for each individual lead source. And then we did all of this lead counting manually. So we would go into Boomtown and we'd go into what's called our traffic dashboard, and we'd pull up the stats for that specific month and manually input these leads.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like stage one. And I had always looked at our lead sources on kind of like a quarterly basis. This is something that we look at quite a bit more than that now. This is how we make a lot of the decisions on where we're going to go forward. So all of these numbers were manually inputted for a long time. Sisu, I remember having a meeting with you guys. It was like probably within a couple of weeks of joining with you and being on a session with Kyle Whistle and myself. We had some really good ideas. And I always was kind of passionate about a lead source ROI report and eventually getting it to the place where you could eventually pull up individual teammates. Mm-hmm. So you could not only look at your lead sources as a whole and eventually get it to the point where you'd be able to break it down. But if anyone's done this manually, this takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. And as realtors, not always are we the most consistent beings on the planet Earth. That's where Sisu comes in and makes it really powerful for us to be able to go in here and get these numbers put in here. Thankfully, with a partnership that you guys have with RealSync,
yep,
with the ability for lead counter. So with Boomtown, when a lead registers on the website and goes to a specific agent, a tally's done in the system automatically, which is probably the biggest game changer for anyone that's ever done this stuff kind of manually and tried to figure out that it's extremely difficult to constantly be pouring time and energy into it, and there's just too much room for error. And it was the automation of it. I actually there's these little breakthroughs that I have sometimes where I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize, I forgot we were tracking a new lead source and it's already converting at 10.84%. And if I didn't have that counting system going on, so the counting system basically will plug in all of the information into your lead sources area. I'll give you an example of this. So there's account and expenses. So this is where you put your expenses. It tracks total number of leads for certain months. You can put in your expenses. These can be fixed all the way down going forward. So if you have a consistent spend with something, it's really easy to track that. I know that you guys also have integrations with QuickBooks that you can probably play with as well. But system is counting these leads in real time. And you can see over time that you'll be able to build scorecards for your each individual agents, which how important is it to know who's really doing well on Zillow? Zillow is asking for a lot of information that they weren't asking for before. And people that are using Sisu and using it to the fullest level have this information available to them at all times. But to flip it on the other side, obviously there's a lot of changes that are going on in the industry right now, and people are really scared about some big changes. And the real estate industry is constantly evolving and changing, and it's more important than ever, in my opinion, to determine like where your business is coming from. I mean, I have some friends that have, you know, big portions of their business with the portals, you know, and it's not uncommon knowledge now to know that the way that's working is changing. You know, but to be able to see that we've got other sources that perform really well for us, you know, and Zillow is about 9% of our business as an example. And we're always trying to find other sources to kind of like fill into those holes. And also like to be able to go back and see, like, this is what I love about Sisu. It makes it very fast, easy to pull up things. Like last year, we had 9 closings from call action. That wasn't call action's fault. That was our fault. And in our weekly team meetings, there's numerous conversations about the importance of a sign call. And it was almost like, and we're fortunate to get a lot of sign calls. So it's not like, but our phones are constantly buzzing. And we have, with call action, thanks to them, we have the ability to have all of our agents' phone rings at the same time. Whoever presses 1 gets the lead. It gets pushed into Boomtown. You know, they book an appointment in Boomtown. It goes into Sisu, and it tracks all this information. But you can see here, we're going to end the year with 26, and the year's not over. So we doubled our closings more than doubled our closings from call action. And those are inbound calls. So we use call action to manage all of our inbound calls. And it wasn't call action's fault that we only did 9 the year before. It was our fault. We didn't put enough precedence on the importance of call-ins. And if you're not putting precedence on call-ins in the future, if you're not answering that telephone, they will go to the easy button whenever it's available. Think about it. Everybody wants the easy button. The best way to have them not hit a scheduled tour button is to answer the phone when they call, which is an opportunity to have a great conversation, give them exactly what they want, and then dig for motivation, dig for their ability, and close the deal. But I use these reports with like call action as an example. I use this to be able to go to my team meeting in 2019 and say, hey guys, we're really missing the boat here. So we make our decisions based on that. We run split tests on things. We make changes in our ISA department. You know, we're trying to see if we can get tiny little bits of improvements, you know, in our conversion rate. You know, if I go back to 2018, if I go back to 2018, I can see here that our, let's see here. Our conversion rate here was 1.09% here. And then in 2020, it's pretty close to that right now as well. Nice. 2.02%. It's actually double, but there's less leads. So you gotta be careful there too, because you can look at this and be like, oh my gosh, my conversion's double, but your actual number of transactions is down. Oh, that was by design. Like we made a change to make that happen.
Yep. This is cool stuff. Maybe Greg, could you just scroll down on that report, or I guess we lost it now.
I can pull it back here for you.
That pie chart. If people were on here earlier, oops, I think if you zoom out a little bit, you might see it. Or this graph right here is a really nice representation of expenses versus income for any particular lead source, right? I know a lot of people that are looking at this stuff, you know, weekly or monthly or at least quarterly, because the reality is the more real-time data you have on this stuff and the more often you come in and analyze it, the more often you can pivot and course correct, right? If I'm an agent and I look at my numbers once a year, I can make a correction once a year that's data-based, right? And that's not really going to change a whole lot, because over the course of the year, I could get really off track, right? But if you can measure this stuff monthly, weekly, or even daily, then, you know, now you're talking. So,
yeah, and looking at the health of your company and spotting if you're too reliant on one source of business, it's a very scary thing. And it's a very real thing for a lot of companies out there, but there's still time to change the course, change the direction, make changes. And even for us, I love this time of the year. We're still going forward. We're in the business planning stages, almost finished with everyone's business plans. But it's an exciting time for us because it does seasonality slow down a little bit, where we can get our staff and our team to band together and make tiny tweaks to the Ferrari and improve our, you can see our number one thing here is past clients.
Yeah.
Google Organic is up there. Referrals is up there. Sphere of influence, friends and family. The people that nurture those relationships for the long term are the people who will be playing the game in the future.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to other, there will be other options available, but don't think that your, the big national sites won't be trying to nurture those people too. And we need to make sure that we're staying relevant and also making sure that we're spending the money where it makes the most sense.
Yep.
And I know some of this stuff isn't super sexy, but I'm telling you, and you may not like the numbers when you actually get them plugged in here correctly, and the conversion number that you said was 5% and you realize it's 1.09% on a certain source. It's a real gut check to say, hey, here's what's really going on in the business. And when you put the accurate information in here, the numbers don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so fortunate that you guys have, going from a overly complicated spreadsheet to an actual full-blown software system. You guys have changed the game for us, along with, there's so many layers to this. Even Boomtown, I'm a Boomtown peer coach, and I help teams, either train agents on accountability and improving the system and improving conversion and having better conversations that matter. But without the tracking of this stuff and being able to see that journey, it's really exciting when you have somebody that doubles their GCI in a year but didn't add a ton of expenses. That gets me excited. I'm all about trying to get as much out of every system that we use. But Sisu and Boomtown are you think you got it? You think you got it figured out? There's always something. There's another layer that you can dive deeper into it. We're in beta testing of your task management system right now, which I'm super excited about. And it's not beta for you guys, it's beta for us. We are testing it behind the scenes before we go live with our transaction coordinator and the agents. We want to make sure we are testing these things beforehand. Yeah. And that's kind of how we run the company. And knowing our numbers and these conversions are the only way that you can improve. And yeah, it's scary sometimes when you put them in there, and especially when you put the accurate information. But I promise you, you'll grow and it'll help you make better business decisions.
So you guys do a lot of experimenting. You do a lot of split testing. Do you have any examples of maybe some interesting split tests or experiments that you ran and you were able to learn something from the data?
Yeah, so probably one of the biggest ones for us was we had kind of an environment where the ISA kind of absorbed all of the inbound leads. And we made a transition away from that and still had the ISA obviously helping, but I'm working on other different sources, but getting the agents more actively involved. And it did increase the conversion, a small little bit, but then the agents got really, really busy, and you kind of got this playing back and forth that happens where you're constantly, for us also, another example, I had some friends in Milwaukee that love Realtor.com. They love it. And we had run a year on Realtor.com, and we looked at the end of the year and said, hey, we did okay on this source, but it wasn't great. But we kind of dug into it a little bit deeper and just realized that a specific zip code that we had chosen, it just really wasn't the right zip code for what we needed at the time. And we made it just a small tweak over to a different zip code and went with it for another year. And it was really interesting because the cost per lead went up a little bit, but the actual number of closed transactions more than doubled, and our expenses. So it was one of those scenarios where I was kind of like, I don't know, I'm going to cancel realtor.com. I don't want to, I always want to know like what other sources are doing. And that's how you measure this stuff. This is exactly how you do it. But we almost gave up on it. And I think that when I talk to our ISA, who I get to spend a lot of time with, looking at this information and trying to make our, our spend decisions and where we want to invest our money, or, maybe we want to gamble a little bit. We try not to, we keep the gasoline in the Ferrari, but we'll always have some side things working. But
yeah, you gotta gamble it a little bit, see if you can find something, right? You don't risk anything. You're not gonna, find that one that might be a killer for you. Yeah, man. Okay, so other question. What's cool, and I noticed the way RealSync's pumping data in there for you is you've got a team lead count, which tracks every lead that hits the system, and that lead is 1, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio, right? But if a lead hits the system, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the way you have it set up. A lead hits the system and it's assigned to you, and you don't follow up, and you've got Shark Tank or whatever, or however it works, it gets pumped to someone else, and maybe 3 agents had an at bat with this lead, it's going to track that, right, as it changes hands.
Yep, as it changes hands, which is, if you think about that, that's pretty complex thing. But yes, it will make those transitions for you. And the fact that it's tracking per agent, it was, I mean, I can get the numbers from Boomtown on the traffic dashboard about like what we're getting for sources really easy. But if I want it on an agent level, there are so many extra clicks to get. And this was like the huge breakthrough when RealSync worked together to get that lead counting enabled. I was like, I told you, people just need to see this. And it seems really complex, but once you get it set up in the support staff and the tutorials that you guys have, I mean, I remember the first time I was like going through your tutorials, like if you can watch a video, you can figure some of this stuff out. But you get guys like Zach who are happy to help, and you've been great, man. I've always been a big fan. You guys know that, and happy to help any way we can.
My favorite customer testimonial of all time is when you told me, when we rolled out some of this ROI stuff, you said, I will now run through a brick wall for Sisu. That was like my favorite. I'm going to put that on my wall. The best testimonial ever. But Greg, I wanted to ask you, are you noticing a discrepancy between agents or differences between agents that, hey, my conversion on this lead source might be X, but this agent actually converts higher or lower? Have you dug deep into that, pulled any insights out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. We on a quarterly basis, when we review goals, we look at their goals in their accountability meetings pretty regularly, but we'll really dive down and try to get more on the specifics of each individual source to see who's performing the best. And you can make decisions as a leader on who really should be on those opportunities. We do have an abundance of opportunities in our company. We're not about having the most agents. We want the most productive agents. We want to put the most powerful support staff around them, do all of the things that realtors don't want to do or don't do consistently, and do that for them. But not everyone is right for each individual lead source. And there's no better way to tell who's right for something. I think we have a scenario more where we don't have enough people that really want to work that source. We've been really good at building people's past client databases and helping them doing the things that really matter, make an impact, and doing it for the agents. And over time, what we find is the longer they're with us, the bigger their past client database is and the more referrals they have. So they don't need as many company opportunities. They still take plenty, but it's an interesting cycle, and it's a cycle I'm proud of to help our agents build databases that really matter. And we've been very fortunate with turnover. We have very little.
Yeah, no, it shows you got some awesome systems. I'm thinking back to one of the earlier sessions we did yesterday with Josh Cunningham. They work, millions of leads, and he was saying all lead sources are good, right? And then Patrick Ferry just a little while ago was saying you can take one lead source and you can really master that one lead source, right? So when you have the data to guide those two, say you have those two principles, and I say, okay, I can take one agent and I can coach them up and I can teach them how to master one lead source, because working one lead source is drastically different than working another. I've got to go to where this person is when that lead was created and figure out how I'm going to get them to, know me, like me, and work with me either now or in the future. So that data is what helps you make those decisions, right?
just like that call action example where we more than doubled because we put an emphasis on that, talked about in meetings. I mean, they probably were sick of me talking about it every week, but it was something that needed to be said, and we've made massive improvements, but there's still room to tweak it a little bit more and push a little bit further.
Always. Yep. Greg, thanks for hopping on, man. You got anything else? Any other knowledge bombs you want to drop for us? Jokes?
Well, I think that the industry is rapidly changing. I think everyone that is in your circle definitely knows that. I think there's massive opportunity. I think we have to have the right mindsets. I think we also need to, plan, put together your 3, your 5, your 10-year plan and really get clear about where you see your place. And I think there's an opportunity in of change. I've been fortunate enough to embrace technology and learn as much as I can. The minute we stop learning and improving is the minute we get slapped. So my best advice to everyone is just be a student. Like the minute you think you know everything is the minute you're in trouble. So don't ever go there. We have so much room for improvement, which is pretty cool.
Always.
Everyone knows.
You're a legend, man. I really appreciate you coming on, and we'll be in touch.
All right, buddy. Take care. See you, CC Nation.
Yeah, CC Nation.